Hello and welcome back to episode 39 of the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. Just like to remind everybody beforehand, please like, comment and subscribe. Turn those notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way. Welcome to the first podcast of 2022. I am joined by my esteemed panel of guests, Mr. Ade Oladipo of DAZN, Barry Jones of No Fixed Abode, and Andy Clarke of talkSPORT Sky. You'd have seen them all and heard them all before. Guys, welcome back. Happy New Year, everybody, apart from Barry, who was late. Andy, it'll start with you. Happy New Year, mate. You have a nice Christmas?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Slightly nervous build up to Christmas because you tested positive for COVID and I spent some time in your company. So I did a very sweaty lateral flow the next day with my wife eyeballing me, knowing that if the lower red line turns up here, our holiday's going to be scuppered, and I may as well just leave the country under my own steam. But it was negative, so it was fine. Yeah, so I got to go on holiday, and it was terrific.
Good. Ade, you had a really busy 2021, probably as busy as anybody. How was your break? Did you manage to get some downtime?
Not really, if I'm honest with you. Went to go and see the family. My sister's moved from London to Ipswich, so decided to go to there for the Christmas, but just really chilled New Year, if I'm honest. We worked a lot at talkSPORT, doing some bits and bobs there, and ready to start 2022 and attack it as much as we can.
Got your new setup as well. I've seen it with the
Yeah.
green chairs, the evolution of boxing talk with Ade.
The green chair, isn't it? It's all about the green chair. Yeah, I've moved to my own studio. Obviously, I've been doing it from my front room for years, and I thought, let's just take it to another level. So I've got my own studio, and hopefully it's not just do boxing interviews, but all types of interviews, and with a boxing kind of fix to it, but interview everyone.
Cool. Look forward to that. Barry, you did unfortunately catch COVID, me and you getting too close to each other as usual. But apart from that, did you have a nice Christmas?
I don't go out. I got no friends, so I don't go out anyway. And I got kids, so I don't really enjoy anything in life anymore. So yeah, it was good. I just couldn't go to Cardiff. My grandparents are in their 90s; they're still alive. So thanks to you, I couldn't spend Christmas with them. It's not your fault. It is your fault, but I can't blame you. But I do. It's weird. Yeah, but that was it. So I didn't have no symptoms. I wasn't ill at all. My family didn't catch it. Anyone else? So yeah. This is crap. Let's get on with the boxing stuff.
Okay, well, we would have got on with the boxing stuff about an hour ago, Barry, if it wasn't for somebody being late, unfortunately, for the first podcast of 2022.
Someone could be dead, and you're ridiculing.
And we hope that they're okay.
There wasn't.
But anyway,
I got up late.
Anyway, that's not the excuse that you gave us before we started, but we won't dwell on that one, Barry. Let's talk some boxing then before we get into our 6 categories that we've got today. Well, 12 technically, because we have a UK and the rest of the world. Let's have a very quick, brief outline of what has been announced so far in 2022. Ade, you're Mr. DAZN, so we'll come to you last, I think. Andy, anything that particularly catches your eye first quarter of 2022? What are you looking forward to the most?
I mean, there's plenty. You look at the domestic shows that we've seen announced. Brooke Khan sticks out because I just really want to see it because I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. Josh Taylor, that's a collector's item. An undisputed champion defending his belts in the UK. I like Lee Wood, Michael Conlon a lot.
Yeah.
I'm keen on that fight. And then one got made yesterday for the US, which I'm all over like a rash. Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez. Looks like that's April the 30th. So there's a lot coming up in the first half of the year. We don't know what's going to happen with AJ and Usyk and Fury and Dillian White and that whole kind of scenario just yet. But something's going to have to happen, and there's going to have to be some kind of announcement fairly soon. But whatever does materialise with that, there's still plenty of other stuff that's already been made that I think gives us a lot to look forward to.
Barry, what about you?
Yeah, I think there's fun fights to be made. I think the Williams Eubank fight's a fun fight and a good fight, and I think that's a sort of a benchmark with 2 guys who just fallen short. I think will maybe elevate them to maybe getting close to a world title shot, because as good as they've been, ultimately we have to say that I know Eubank beats somebody by accident. With a bad leg with Korobov on
the shoulder.
And Williams has been really good domestically, but fallen short at world level. This is now the fight you need to elevate you. Cannon Brooks a fun fight with no relevance on the scene, the world boxing scene for me. it's not a fight I clamor to watch, but I think it'll be enjoyable as it goes on. But again, I'll go back to Wood and Conlon. I think it's a fascinating match. It's a fascinating match. Within 6, 8, 9 months ago, you wouldn't have even put Wood in the race for it.
Yeah.
To be honest, you wouldn't have. You would have thought Conlon had too much class and ability and would walk all over him. No, you just seen the emergence, the transformation of Lee Wood, and that makes it just a real interesting fight.
Ade, in association with DAZN,
Oh.
what have you got for us in the first quarter? What are you looking forward to the most?
Williams Eubank, or should I say Eubank Williams, is one that sticks out. I like it.
Hang on a minute. Why should you say Eubank Williams?
I agree. I like it. It's a good one.
Well, why the other way around? You mixed it around.
Williams
Then.
Eubank.
You said Williams Eubank, and
You have to
changed
put the
your mind
Welshman
halfway
first.
through.
You put the Welshman
When
first. It's fine. At home,
Barry's on,
motor point. You're right. So we'll stick with Williams Eubank. I think
What a
it's fun
paranoid
fight.
nation.
Just I think both of them are, as Barry was saying, I think both of them are just below that sort of world level. And I think the winner then goes on probably to do something good. If it's Eubank, he's been calling out everyone for the last 4 or 5 years. Is he going to fulfill that semi-potential that he has? Calmbrook, people will say they won't watch it. Every single person will watch it. It's a fight we've all been waiting for years. And I think both of them have deteriorated, unfortunately, at the same rate. I've always said I thought Brook would win that fight. Now I'm like, absolutely no idea how that one plays out. Wood Conlon's a fantastic fight. Absolutely great fight. And well done to get that in Nottingham as well. I think it's going to be a really good atmosphere there. And one that hasn't been announced, that I think will be in the next couple of days, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. My only annoyance with that is you mentioned Shakur Stevenson, Oscar Valdez. It looks like they're going to go head-to-head at April 30th, which is boxing, killing boxing again, I think, putting it on the same time. But I think that one could be a good one as well. I don't know if it is the biggest female fight of all time, but I mean, 2 great female fighters, and I think it's a massive for female boxing that one goes ahead. So, look, yeah, I think it's a great start to the year. Even though we didn't have fights over here in January, I think what we've got coming up until April, and even past that, if you do get the heavyweights in the mix, I think it's really, really good. I thought 2021 was fantastic. It was such a good year for boxing. I think already 2022 looks like it's going to be a good one as well.
Yeah, lots to look forward to in the first quarter of 2022. While we're hovering around the subject, the fight that I'm most looking forward to, I'm going full casual city for Calmbrook. I'm all in for Calmbrook.
All he thinks about is the numbers.
Not even that. Like we've all wanted to watch that. Okay, various different degrees of wanting to watch it over a period of time.
Yeah.
Now it's signed. Now it's made. Now it's like, all right, they're both at the end of their career. But if one was sort of still on top and one was clearly deteriorated, then I wouldn't really be into it. But they're both deteriorated. It's Calmbrook. It's British. Let's get it on. Like I can't wait for it.
I've got no time for anyone who claims that they're not interested.
Yeah,
in
just
they're lying.
They're lying. Like, you know, hipsters or whatever, which is one of my least favourite words in the English language. It just, of course, you're interested in this because they have, as Ade said, they've faded it equally. And you look at their ring experiences and you think, oh, well, that Golovkin fight, that would have taken a lot away from Kell. But then Amir stepped up and weight and got chinned by Canelo. So it's very difficult. It's impossible to know what's going to happen.
I think that's the thing, though. You look at the records and you think that Khan has been in with much more superior opposition. Win or lost, he has it. So you sort of got to make him favourite just on his experience alone. Because Brook has been fantastic and he's dangerous. But when you really look into his record, there's not loads of big names on there that he's been, you know, the Porter win turns out to be a better win now than it was when he beat him.
Yeah.
You know, in retrospect. And that was nip or tuck. So actually, and then he had, you know, a real poor run of defences. Whether it's his fault or not, he did at home. Some real, you know, below the level he should have been boxing at. So you think, but you also think that if he just clips Khan on the chin, half clips him on the chin, he puts him to sleep. That's the intrigue. And I think it is about who's deteriorated the most. That's what it's that morbid fascination now. Who's going to really turn up old?
Yeah, I think you're right in what you said with regards to kind of the fact that they're neither what they used to be. But I think like, and also like for me, once you see the first head-to-head on Fight Week, I know we had the head-to-head at the press conference a while ago, but as soon as like they get together, that first, there'll be some shouting and screaming between camps, and then everybody will go all in for it. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's not contrived either, is it?
They genuinely don't like each other.
Who's training Brook?
Dominic Ingle.
Dominic Ingle.
Oh, wicked.
He is
Oh,
training.
okay, so that'd be
But yeah, I agree. I kind of lost my way a little bit. I agree with what you said with regards to it. It's not. It has absolutely zero ramifications on the world level at 147, 154. The winner doesn't put themselves any closer to a world title. I guess they probably do in theory. I guess, but yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm all in for Khan Brooks. I'm looking forward to that on February the 19th. Right, let's get started. Our first category for today that we're all going to discuss. We're going to go through. I have to try and probably skim through. We've got about 15 minutes per category. Is our prospect to watch in 2022. Andy, I'm going to go over to you first. We're going to have. Let's go for your British. Well, we'll do both at the same time. Let's go for British and world prospect to watch in 2022.
So British, I'm going to go Mark Dickinson. I saw him in Newcastle in October. It didn't last very long. He's just a really good fighter. He didn't stay in the amateur setup that long. It looked to me like he was going to be first choice to go to the first Olympic qualifier way back in March 2020, and he didn't get the nod for that. I haven't quite worked out exactly what happened there, because he did look like he was going to be in pole position. But he's a good fighter, and Ben Davison's really excited about him, and rightly so. So I think he's someone who could move really quick on the British scene. I think he's already had a couple now, hasn't he? 2-0, maybe
Yeah,
even
2-0.
3. Yeah, 2-0. Internationally, I always want to pick fighters who've had a handful of fights. So I'm going to go for someone I saw at the weekend who I didn't know anything about previously. Jahi Tucker, 6-0 now. I just thought he looked really good. I don't really know anything about him, to be honest. He's from New York. Other than that, I just go on what I saw the other day. And
He did look good.
he looked a good fighter.
Yeah.
He looked a good fighter. So I was racking my brains about this one on the way in, because you go through all sorts of kind of names and you think, do they really qualify as a prospect?
That's the interesting thing. Like what? Yeah.
But I've just decided on him because it's recent and he genuinely is a prospect.
Barry?
For me, I was caught in between two, except for the Olympians I've just turned over. But I was like Dennis McCann still. But I think for me, Dante Dixon. I think the last time I saw him, he looked fantastic. Just so, and you can see a special fighter where they're busy without doing loads. Doesn't make any sense. Like Anthony Yard was like that. He used to get the job done really quick, but never panic and never rush his work. I thought Dixon was just brilliant. He had a little something about him that might be a little bit special. Time will tell, of course, because you step up in levels and you might get found out. But right now, he looks like he might have pretty much most of what you need to get to the top. I just want to mention a woman who's not young, but she's a prospect, is Nina Hughes. Like I watched her at the York Hall the other day, Nia Smith Hughes, I think she used to be a Smith. And she's maybe in her 30s, and she was like the female Carl Froch. Honest to God.
So I actually don't know what that means. I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
Just relentless.
Flat earther or
Massive nose like that. No, I mean, she was just relentless. She just pummeled this girl to pieces. It was just, and I just thought, like, she'd be boxing for the world title by the end of 2022. I'd be shocked if she's not. And she's a bantamweight, so we got plenty of bantamweights in the UK, and she's one to watch as well. But for me, I think that Dante Dixon is someone might have that little bit of an X factor.
Who was Dante Dixon's last fight against? He went.
I don't think he's boxed for a while.
Jordan McCorry.
Yeah,
was his last fight. Yeah, had to show a little. It was on the DAZN card. You tell me.
Yeah. He looked really good.
He looked good, and Jordan
McCorry's a good benchmark.
Yeah, because he's boxed all of those boys.
Woodstock,
Archie Sharp.
I was waiting to see what was going to happen with him promotionally, because we had him on Sky a few times and he looked really good. And I know kind of towards the start of last year or middle of last year when the split had happened and people were kind of thinking about who you would want to try and sign, I said Dante Dixon straight away. So, because I agree with you. Like, whenever I've seen him, I've done like 2 or 3 of his fights. I just thought, wow, he looks really, really good.
He looks very, very flash. I think one of the things that I remember from the McCorry fight was just him getting a little bit carried away after 1 or 2 rounds. McCorry tough as old boots, sticking in there. And I think the last 30 seconds, I think it was an 8-rounder. Last 30 seconds of the 8th round, McCorry was really hanging in there.
Yeah.
But I think Dante Dixon is kind of sort of the double-edged sword of somebody of his skill set and stature, where he just has to rein it in a little bit at this stage of his career.
Also, McCrory's the fight that they put you in before you challenge for a title.
Yeah, I mean, I
domestic sort of
think he was
level title.
5-0 or something to get that, and then
Yeah,
box
exactly.
McCrory, which
Yeah,
is a
so
great.
So they're rushing him, but not over rushing him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's a good fight at that stage of his career.
I think, for someone who's ambitious, yeah. And for me, at world level, I'm still with Jared Anderson. We mentioned him the last time I was here, when you gave me COVID. And with no one ever seen that. But I think he's another kid who has a limited amateur experience, but he's so naturally gifted, so loose with his work, that he's almost like a blank canvas because he's so athletic. I think he's someone you can do loads of work with and tighten him up, make him a little bit better. But I think he has a lot. He has a good vision to his work. I think he has a lot to his game now. I think this year will be a big year for him.
Ade, how about you? Your UK and international prospect of 2022. Who's your one to watch?
I don't know if you still class him as a prospect, because I think you look at him and you think that there's something already there, and he could go. I think he could win the British title immediately now, and that's Dalton Smith. I think he's a special talent. I really do. I think I like the way in which he fought abroad last time, just to kind of keep him under the radar and ticking over. I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he's ready to go now. He's almost one that they might have to rein in a little bit, because he wants everything. I think he potentially will look at someone like, if he does lose to Josh Taylor, and I think we'll probably agree, Jack Catterall, he'll probably look at that at the end of the year and think, that's kind of my aim for the end of the year in terms of what I want, which is a big ask, but I think they might push him already. I like him at 140 pounds, very big at the weight, so he might go up a weight as well to 147, but I think there's something there with Dalton Smith, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's not fighting sort of European level, fringe European level by the end of the year. Honestly, I think they are going to really fast track him just because of what he's got. Another one. Can I do two for British? Can I? Have we got time? Can I do another one?
Come on, Ade.
You know, because I'm just thinking about him now, and it's the cruiserweight that fought.
Should we paint your chair green first before you take over?
I was going to ask to bring it in, if I'm honest with you. I'm shocked that he didn't ask me to bring it in, if I'm honest with you. But I like the cruiserweight, Jordan Thompson. There's something about him. Massive cruiserweight, by the way, as well. Honestly, when I saw him, I couldn't believe the size of him. You know, everyone, we always talk about Lawrence Okoli and how thick and tall he is. And he was a bit slimmer than Lawrence Okoli, but almost a bit taller as well. A bit spiteful. Had his time out of the ring. Not quite sure what the reasons were, but he's now back and he's had 2 fights in quick succession. He looks like he's got a bit of power to him as well. So I think he could be interesting to see how they move him as well in 2022. I think they're going to try and put him on as many shows as possible because he's got a bit of a following as well. So I think he's very, very good and one to look out for. World scene, I was going to mention him as well, Jared Anderson.
Is he big enough? He's 6'4".
That's my query.
Is he big enough?
I think he's...
It's weird now.
I know it's mental to
weird.
say that about
Someone's
somebody
6'4".
Somebody
6'4" and
is
17 stone.
2 inches or 3 inches taller than Big George Foreman.
But, I think, and listen, he has all his own weight so far, but I think he's got that good natural vision and movement that I think he can close the gap quick, but still got fast enough feet to get him out of trouble. And because he's naturally athletic, he'll exit at a different angle.
Yeah, and it depends what we're talking about in terms of, obviously, look, we're saying prospects, so I'm not in any way saying I think he's going to win a world title in a couple of years. That's going to be difficult. But in terms of sort of ticking off, like, guys coming towards the end, look, the heavyweight division is full of guys where you can find a former past world title challenger, like they have been doing with other prospects, and he'll run through those very, very quickly. And I think there's so much more to add to him. As Barry said, you look at him and there is a bit of a blank canvas there that you can add so much. He's very, very athletic, very fast. He's got power. I think it's all the wins. And I know this is typical of most heavyweights coming up, but every fight's been won by knockout, which doesn't really say much because that's what you do, right? You put him in with fighters like that. But I think there are so many good fights for him to have in 2022 where we'll see by the end of the year, if he is, as you say, big enough to challenge the big boys, because you are in the land of the giants now with the heavyweights, aren't you? Yeah. And if you're not 6'6" and above, unless you're Alexander Usyk, it's difficult, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I think I like him a lot.
But it might be Alexander Usyk, so then he will be big enough. Just not good enough.
I also like the fact that he's outspoken, he's charismatic. His ring attire for his last fight was good. He came out with like his pimp cane and I think it was like an homage to.
As long as he's not doing a Montana Love and bringing a dog to the ring, then it's fine. I mean, that was drawing the line for me. You crossed the line. You crossed the line.
Right, for myself, for my good self, I will go with. So I've got 2 for the UK as well. So one is Adam Azim. I think Adam Azim's very, very talented.
Both Azims are good, aren't they?
Both Azims are good. I think Adam might just have that X factor. I think Hassan's probably the bigger puncher out of the 2, but Adam, very, very fast hands. Fast.
A bit more flashier as well.
I watched him about 14 months ago, spar Luke Campbell. At the time he was 18, Adam. and Luke's retired now, so I'm sure he won't watch this anyway. They don't have electricity in Hull. He gave a very good account of himself, and Luke Campbell's one of those fighters, as we all know. Some fighters good in the gym, some fighters not so good. Luke Campbell's very good in the gym, and I watched Adam Seam give a very good account of himself, along with Dalton Smith as well, in preparation for the Ryan Garcia fight. Very excited to see Adam Seam. Mark Dickinson, who you've just mentioned, Andy. I watched him spar 10 rounds the other day with a world-class fighter and give a very good account of himself. 22 years old, 2-0. To be doing it 3-4 rounds at the end of a spar when somebody's already had their circuits and they're tired is one thing. To do 10 rounds straight through with a world-class guy at 22 years old,
super impressive.
I was very impressed. It's the first time I've seen him up close. I know you were talking about him in the amateurs. But yeah, that's the first I've seen of him. And on the world stage, the Boxing Social 2021 prospect of the year, Keyshawn Davis, who I'm very much looking forward to. Mark Castro as well, of course. Mark Castro beat him 3 times in the amateurs. Kind of spawned one of the best quotes of 2021 where he said, they said, well, tell us about your amateur rivalry with Keyshawn Davis. He's like, I beat him 3-0. That's not a rivalry. Which I thought was a fantastic throwaway line. I think there's a lot to come from Mark Castro too. I just like the style of Keyshawn Davis for the pros. Yeah. Nothing rushed. Like Rolls Royce. Everything he does seems to have more time. I always follow you see it with a great fighter. They always have more time.
And you can't pinpoint how they do it. That's the beauty of a potential great fight. They have all the time in the world. They don't rush anything, but everything's really fast. And you're thinking, but I'm as fast, or I'm working as fast. I'll be rushing your work. Well, how come they're not rushing their work? And it's a weird thing. I don't know whether you get how you get your feet right, or is it something you do? No, I don't do it. Never did it. But something they do that just makes them stand out and just makes it like they got all the time in the world. Like they're slow motion, but they're hitting you every time. You can't get out the way of any punches. And that is a sign of a potential great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he develops.
I think it was great for him what happened with the Olympics. That was just this incredible, unexpected bonus because obviously he turned pro and Team USA were never going to allow pros to basically go back to the amateurs, but then with the qualifier being cancelled and it going on ranking points and he was still up there, he did qualify. Same with Duke Reagan, so they both ended up going and he gave Cruz a proper fight in that final.
It's a good fight.
We had Costello,
great profile
really
for him.
Fight.
Great profile for him. And those fights, I know it's different, the 3-round format. It is, and you're building in the pros, and it's still very, very different. But the reality is that the boxers he faced in the Olympic Games are way better than anyone he's going to box in the pros, probably for his next
15 fights. Agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those guys develop in 2022. So the next category, and these categories, because some of them are quite close, you're not allowed to pick this. I'll explain.
Not allowed to replicate across categories.
So for example, the next one is fighter to become world champion. When we come on to the topic of champion to lose title, you can't have the same guy. So you can't say, well, he's going to become world champion because he's going to beat him. So you have to have different ones. Not that Barry would have prepared anyway, but anyway, moving on.
I wrote some down on.
Oh, he's got his pad. The pad has made it into 2022. Okay, Barry. Well, we'll go with you first because you got your pad and you're ready.
But I scribbled it down. I can't read my own writing.
Fighter to become world champion in 2022.
Josh Warrington, domestically. I think he beats Martinez.
Okay.
Though stylistically, it's a hard fight for him. Always would be, and always will be. But I'm just betting against Martinez all the time because I just think you can't you're old. You just can't.
It's an Indian summer that still keeps going.
Since about 2014. it's like literally like, oh, can you keep going? It's impossible. So I think Warrington, if he's smart and can make the weight okay, I think he's huge for the weight. You see him when he's out there training, he looks like a middleweight.
Wow.
And I think they're bulking up and then maybe that water loading thing. I don't know what they do, but I think he could beat him. So I think he's a winnable title again. Is that okay? Can they?
You can go with that. Josh Warrington is your UK fighter to win a world title in 2022. Internationally, a fighter who is not world champion who could.
Chris Colbert.
Okay. Are we? Well, he's okay, but is he a world champion now?
Kind of is, isn't he?
A WBA regular.
Isn't he fighting CRS for the genuine title?
You're moving the goalpost there a bit, Rob. But he's not.
No,
he's a regular champion. He's not a real world champion.
Yeah.
Unless you are Mr.
Well, no, because the 130-pound super featherweight champion is. Has he got the super Gutierrez?
Yeah. That's what, as far as I'm aware, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think he might have the suit.
There you go then. Thank you.
Okay, well, okay. We're gonna have. So we're gonna have.
So I think
Chris Colbert, not a world champion yet, but he's got the WBA regular. Then becomes world champion. By
Okay,
getting
then.
super.
Well, I was going to say Daniel Dubois, but he's already got the gold world title, so I can't
And
use
he
him.
could win the regular title by beating Trevor Bryan. No regulars on here. So yeah, we can have. We'll
Yeah,
have.
I don't count that as a thing. I just,
Chris Colbert, really like Chris Colbert.
Yeah,
I did like an
good.
hour-long interview with him last year. He's such an engaging guy, and he can really fight.
I'm gutted because like Joe Cordina, I love him. He's so talented, but they're hard. The champion, they're all really good, and no, I want him to get a breakthrough fight, but I can't see where he sneaks in. There's no easy route for him. I don't think.
The IBF route, we got Agawa's now at match.
I don't think.
It's not an easy fight.
I think
Not
that's
an
a
easy
horrible fight. I was
we
a big for Ogawa actually when he won the title.
when he beat Fazila. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember did you remember when he boxed Tevin Farmer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
I
contest.
feel like Well, no, it
Well,
was in the end. Initially, it was just a robbery.
Yeah.
Where Tevin Farmer was a bit too slippery for him and a bit too tricky. I just feel like some of the things that he was able to do to Agawa, I could see Cordina doing. But the problem that I think we have is last fight. We spoke about this actually. Last fight after scoring a brilliant first round knockout in his fight before, you saw Cordina really loading up.
Well,
in that fight. You can't do that with Agawa.
Well, they're doing the right things with Cordina. They're giving you're a naturally lovely, skillful boxer. You've got great movement, timing, all the things you've got. Tick, 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 tick. You lack a bit of strength and a bit of power in your punches, so we'll work on that. And they're working on it, and you can see the development. But that's not his natural game. And if he fights like that against Agawa and others, he will maybe come unstuck. I'm sort of like that because I want him to win because I love him. But also, I'm still the best super featherweight in Cardiff right now. Do you know what I mean? Like
You are, sir. You
so
are.
like, even though he's obviously better than me technically and everything. But I mean,
And I think you're slightly heavier than 130 at the minute.
I think you can make the 130.
Yeah, can he?
to be fair, I should be given a weight because I was never a 130 naturally anyway. I should be given a weight disparity now for the weight disparity I used to give away when I was fighting.
Right, enough out of Barry. Right, Andy. So who's your domestic fighter to win a world title in 2022 and your international?
So I'm going to pick Conlon to beat Leewood. That's my pick.
Full world title? Are we going for that as a full world title?
Well, in that division, I think it is.
I think Leo Santa Cruz.
But he says he's fighting at
go up.
130. He says he's
Has he?
going to now. I think he says it
I
every
just don't
sort of
think
6
that's gonna
months.
happen.
It's not going to happen.
The WBA say, listen, Leo,
chance.
we need you to tell us. And he goes, yeah, man, sure, I'll be back down there. And then
Well,
6 months
126.
goes up 130. Yeah, 126, yeah.
He won't make 126.
He ain't making 126.
No chance.
No, I don't.
No
I can't see
way.
that happening.
I asked, so I was in the gym with Ben Davison the other day, and I said, well, what's going on with Leo Santa Cruz? And he just said, we have no idea. So I have no idea. So okay, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that as a real. Sounds horrible. We'll go for that as a full world title. Because yeah, I don't think Leo's coming back, and I think the winner is likely to be elevated. And who do you think wins that? You go with Conlon.
Conlon, yeah, I picked Conlon because he's just a very good technical fighter, and I think he's got the temperament for the big occasion, not to get drawn into the kind of fight that he doesn't need to have. And I think if he sticks to that and he boxes and uses his feet and switches stance and employs all of those technical qualities that he's got, I think he can beat Leewood in what might not be the best fight you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
But you just need to, he just needs to win, and I think he can do it that way. Yeah, I'm not ruling Leewood out by any stretch, but Michael Conlon could hardly be more different to Kanju in terms of the way that he's going to go about the fight. He could hardly be more different, and you could argue that Jazza, who beat Leewood, is more Conlon than the other way around, and he struggled with him, and so for those reasons, I would go with Michael, because I just can't see him falling for a kind of trap where he all of a sudden just stands toe to toe and just slugs it out. He's too experienced for that.
Okay, before we move on to your international, so as of 19 hours ago, from our good friends over at Boxing Scene, shout out Rick Reno, Leo Santa Cruz doesn't foresee any issues in returning to the featherweight division and has committed to facing the Wood-Conlon winner.
He shouldn't be allowed. You can't just hold the title ransom.
It's been
for
too
as long
long,
as,
isn't it? How
as
long
long
has
as
it
you
been?
want
A year and a half?
Since he's boxed at featherweight, I think
How
it's
long's it
been
been?
like 3 years since he's boxed
Exactly,
at featherweight.
it's
That's
ridiculous, isn't it? It makes a
That's
mockery.
ridiculous.
It's just hold of everyone's career. Right?
Yeah, hold
So
on.
that's
I want to
what
go up
wanna
and do other things, and you guys will keep that belt for me. Nonsense.
Garbage, isn't it?
International.
I struggled a bit with this one. But in the end, it's another British fighter. But in the end, I'm going to say Eubank is going to win a world title.
Whoa. Okay.
Against who?
I don't really know. But I'm trying to say that they're going to get him.
Andrei Charlo Golovkin.
Andrade, I think, will move up.
They're going to get him.
I don't think Andre's going to box Alan Kanuli. I don't think so.
No, I don't either.
But then, so you got to fight Munguia then, or something like that.
I don't think Golden Boy would be tripping over themselves to put Munguia in with Alan Kanuli either.
No, I mean, if they had to fight Eubank, for instance.
Eubank versus... It'd probably have to be Eubank, Alan Kanuli. I don't like Eubank in that fight.
No, I don't like him in any.
I quite fancy him to be able to get it done.
Sorry, yeah.
That's quite...
Go Eubank.
I am surprised by that one. Are we having... So you're going with 2 domestic winners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
Like
Flying the flag. Let's go. Right. Ade.
Mr. DAZN.
Mr. DAZN. Joe Cordina. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So a bit of Welsh patriotism from somebody.
It's funny because I was just about to interview him ringside after that win last time out against the Belgian. And look,
We know you get lots of work.
yeah, I thought I'd just mention it. And they scrapped the interview because I was going to obviously push the idea. I was thinking he was going to go through him, not comfortably, but I thought he was going to win. And the idea was to ask him about Ogawa and say, look, obviously Matchroom have just signed him up and surely that's the fight they're going to try and make. And I think he's got the beating of him. I think it will be tough. And look, world titles should be tough. They shouldn't be easy. Shouldn't be given. There should be tough fights. I think they would have gone it next if he looked really good against the Belgian. Now, obviously, I think they're going to maybe have 1, maybe even 2 more before they go for Ogawa. But I think that's the one. If you're looking at a title, and that's what they're going to do. They're looking at a title and, okay, how can we get it? It's there. And I think Ogawa was, 33? I know he looks good against Azingi Fazili, who I've actually seen up close when I was in South Africa. I've seen him box, and he's fantastic, by the way. Ward. Fantastic fighter. I watched them spar as well, though, and almost a bit like the Brazilians in jiu-jitsu and MMA, they kill themselves in sparring. It's ridiculous. So every time you see the South Africans come over to Europe or America, they're just stunned. They've left it all in the gym. So I almost knew that fight was going to play out that way with Ogawa. But I think Joe Cordina is going to win a world title at the back end of 2022.
Where does Zelfa Barrett fit into that mix? Do you think we could potentially see Joe Cordina, Zelfa Barrett? You go, Zelfa Barrett maybe fights Ogawa first. I think he's won an eliminator. They've won an eliminator. I don't know if final eliminator, but we all kind of know the.
I didn't think Zelfa looked great in his last fight. If I'm honest with you, he's fighting a guy who looks about 2 or 3 weight classes. But looked tiny, and I think put him down early. I don't know, was it the Tanzanian based in Australia, wasn't he? Based out of Australia.
Yeah, quite a few people were, I think.
As soon as I saw the size difference in the ring, I was like...
It's like a bantamweight, really.
It was ridiculous. Yeah. And I spoke to his trainer after the fight, and he's like, yeah, we're going down. Not just 1 weight class, we're going to try and go down 2.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Zelfa Barrett versus Joe Cordina, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I really like the idea of Joe Cordina versus Anthony Kakache.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that fight, will they? I think Kakache's a really good fighter.
Well, Joe's, as much as he's like a prospect, he's 30.
Bruno Tarima.
Yeah, Bruno Tarima. Yeah.
He's 30 now, so you can't. If he gets the opportunity for the world title, you got to take it.
All those 2016 Olympians are that age. You think, like 6 years? It'll be 6 years since the Olympian. You think all of them really should have.
For a lot of them too.
A lot of them,
particularly Joe. With
I know. So they're amateur longer now because you have that funding, so you stay amateur longer. Like when I was a kid, you were eager to turn pro. If you didn't turn pro until you were 20, 21. You were like, what's wrong with him?
But I do think with Joe, and you mentioned it, and you're right, getting that knockout in the first round at Fight Camp, when everyone thought that was going to be a decent scrap, and I think maybe he thinks he's got that too much now, the power. So I think if he just sticks to his boxing, I think he's a fantastic boxer, honestly. Yeah. When you watch him close up, you realise how he sort of glides into it. Honestly, fantastic.
But I think he has to revert back to what he is, not what he's trying to be. That's my worry for him. Like, I want him to win more than anyone, to be honest. But that's my worry for him because he's trying to. I think the last fight where he was dominant up in Liverpool, he's trying too hard to be a crowd pleaser, to sell himself. Because obviously that's the big narrative now. You have to sell yourself to the TV audience and the audience live rather than just win and win well.
I didn't know too much about that Belgian he fought, though. He was actually pretty good.
Yeah, he was all right. Good.
Very tough. Took a lot of punches.
That's a quality fight, that is, for on your way up. That's the fight you need.
Agreed.
Not the fight you want to look like supersonic, but the fight you need for your development. But I think he's trying to be too aggressive, where his ability is to make you miss and punish you.
Yeah.
Moving away from Joe Cordina,
why?
Your international... This is where you didn't even pick him. Your international world champion in weighting, Ade, is...
I hope I don't butcher his name. Alan Kanuli?
Alan Kanuli? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if we've got an upset of the year bracket here, but I was actually thinking he could beat Demetrius Andrade if they was going to fight. I really did, but I'm with you. I think Andrade will go up to 168. What's he chasing out 160? He struggles to make the weight, clearly. I mean, he looked tired against Liam Williams. I know he done well against Quigley, but he looked really knackered towards the end there. And I like that Alam Kanuli. I really do. I thought he looked good against Hassan Mdam. Obviously, he got the amateur experience. Big 160-pounder as well. Just fresh as well. He's fresh. And I think he's a problem for a lot of people at 160. You mentioned Chris Eubank Jr. I think that's a nightmare fight for Eubank Jr., someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
agree.
I think he could win it just by virtue of it being vacated and him fighting someone for it.
Then it just depends on who he boxes, really.
Him versus Munguia.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think with him, I'm just not sure about him yet because
The wins he's had against faded
the
Hassan Mdam, Rob Brandt.
He was a really good amateur, and I just think I've become a little bit more cautious with these fighters turning over and moving quick because you look at what's happened to Melakuziev.
Oh God!
And Madrimov as well to an extent. That was very odd, that finish to the fight against Sorrow, and I don't know. I'm not sure about.
Very odd.
We need to see him in with somebody who's actually
and I
got
understand
some
that
ambition.
Eubank has got his limitations. I understand that, and they are there. And if he's going to win a world title, he'll have to dog it out and do it through sheer guts and willpower. But we know that he's got it.
He's got.
We
that.
need to
He's
see.
got that in
For
him.
me, with Eubank, we need to see what Eubank turns up against Liam Williams. I don't want to see the Roy Jones tribute act. I don't want to see.
No. They need to have figured out that that's not.
I don't think they're going to though. 'cause
No, I don't. And I don't think that's the way to go about it. But if
But
he
I
comes
think
out
when he
and we
gets
see
into
it,
a tough fight,
He will revert
Yeah,
type.
yeah.
It's
and
funny
that's not
because
always a good thing, but in that instance, it would be.
particularly against somebody like Alam Kanuli, who is not going to be outboxing or anything. The way to win that fight would be to put the pressure.
it's funny with you, man, because when you watched him early in his career and he threw these million combinations and you go, oh, it's fantastic. But if you just slow down a bit, it'd be so much more effective. But now he's throwing less. Now he's not throwing combinations. You're like, where's all those combinations you used to throw? What set you apart? I think his work ethic, his work rate was what maybe set him apart, what maybe give him a chance. But if he's trying to be more economical.
Yeah, he's trying to think too much now,
He
isn't
doesn't have the raw power of Roy Jones. Roy Jones could jump in from here to you, and he had that raw power, that natural and timing, perfect timing to catch you perfect. Where even though he's fast, he just doesn't have it. And you might have a little bit of it, but you've got to have it all to box like Roy Jones. And I don't think. And as much as Roy Jones said we're not doing that, it clearly is what they do.
I don't even know about Roy Jones' qualities as a trainer. I'm still not
we need to
entirely
see it,
sure
don't we?
if that's. I mean, obviously, look, we're all excited by it, and but you can't create another Roy Jones. I almost feel like with Eubank, he's trying to almost create another Roy, and it's just not going to happen.
And also, how would you when you're a fighter like of that quality, like a great fighter, can you understand why he can't get it? When you're telling someone what to do and he can't
you
do it,
see
you're
like footballers where you have
why
like a
can't he do
great ex-footballer takes over as a manager of somewhere and he just do this. I mean, the things that they take for granted because they used to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be able to do that. Anyway, over to me for my people to become world champions. For the UK, I'm going to go for Anthony Yard.
Ooh,
Anthony
I like
Yard
that
wins a
shout.
world
I
title
love
this
it.
year.
Love it.
Callum Johnson never sees that WBO title shot, by the way. I'm putting it out there now.
bless
That's not going to happen. Anthony Yard wins a world title in 2022. And on the world stage...
Are you saying Joe Smith then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think he wins the WBO title. And on the world stage, I have two. One, Bam Rodriguez, the light flyweight, who's just signed with Matchroom. He's got Ibuki, they've got Soto, they've got basically kind of that light flyweight through to super flyweight. Matchroom control a lot of the real estate. I think he's a star. He's going to be unbelievable. I think from light flyweight, right, I think he'll end up at like bantam eventually. So him, and then the second one, and this might not happen because boxing, Boots Ennis. It's Boots time. It's coming. It's soon. It's Boots time soon.
That Spence going.
Somebody's going to vacate a title somewhere along the line.
That's what's got to happen.
Yeah, no one's going to fight him. No one's going to fight him unless they absolutely have to, and they've got no better option.
Or he won't beat them.
I think he
Barry,
beats
I'm
them.
with that as well, Barry.
I don't think he does.
I need to see.
You don't think
him
he beats
against
them?
Yeah.
Or doesn't think he gets the title shot?
I don't think he beats the two.
You need someone to vacate.
Yeah.
He's a good
In
fighter.
a similar position to where Spence was a few years ago, where you're going to have to get to a position where it's ordered and they've got nothing, no better options on the table.
Well,
so
the
to speak.
good for him, and maybe for that division to open up again, is that Crawford's mentioned 154. Spence could go up there easily.
Yeah.
and that might
Crazy.
I think you see Spence I think Spence beats Ugas by a close/controversial decision.
Yeah. People call him Ugas like he's rubbish.
Ugas very good.
Very good.
When Conor Benn and all, but they were mentioning Ugas
Yeah.
as the weak link.
Yeah, Conor Benn's like, well, I'll take the Ugas fight next. I'm like, yeah, you sure you won't fight Robert Guerrero?
I was around Conor Benn, I wouldn't take
That's so difficult for me when I'm talking to
highly
him.
skilled Cuban.
You would take the fight because it's a world title fight.
Yeah,
But they won't take the
But that's the case of I'd rather get beat by Crawford than Spence, but I get more credit than get beat by Ugas.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Who the layman are going to.
But I think Boots is ready to go. I think he's ready to go.
Yeah,
And
no, yeah, I think- yeah,
if after Spence Ugas happens, maybe if Spence wins, maybe he moves up. I think they're looking at him potentially boxing Custio Clayton for a final eliminator for the IBF.
He beats him.
If you want, yeah, he does beat him. If you want a world title shot, you want somebody to kind of guarantee you a world title shot, and it's a heavyweight apparently recently. Then you go the IBF route because they will enforce
they do
it.
it, don't they?
So I think Rodriguez is my pick, Ban Rodriguez. But I do think it's Boots time. It's coming. It's coming. He's eventually going to get a shot at a title. He's going to find himself in a position to fight for a world title, and he's going to win one. But maybe politics. And while that big fight is still, however possible, between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford at 147, while that's still lingering, neither of them are going to obviously fight him. So, I will go Ban Rodriguez, but honourable mention to
You see,
Sharon
when
Evans.
when you say neither would fight him, obviously the risk reward for Crawford's not there. You don't get
Not while that big fight is still available. Why would you fight a young, hungry...
No, but the way you said it sounded almost like Crawford would avoid him for fear of losing.
No, not necessarily.
I think Crawford
It's
was-
just financial
Crawford was
None
beat,
of those
yeah.
guys would think they'll lose to anyone. No, none of them would.
I don't see.
Keith Thurman would think that he'll beat both Crawford, Spence, and
No, I actually
Darren
don't
Ellis.
think Crawford. I don't think Furman will think that. if I'm honest with you.
I don't know. I think this year I will kind of come onto this. Actually, no, we don't have a category for that. I think Furman gets retired this year by somebody.
Someone.
It might be Barrios. It might be somebody if he decides to fight twice this year, which would be something. Anyway, moving on. So remember, we're not allowed to go for the
No
champion.
crossovers, yeah? Okay.
So Andy, who is a champion who's going to lose their title in 2022? Not Leewood, or some of the middleweights who might fight Chris Eubank.
We've got to go for two here.
No,
you can't.
well, you can't really in the
many
UK. It's
British
only Lawrence
champions.
Okolie, so we'll
There's
just
not
go
many
for one
British
for this
champions.
one. We'll just go for one this one.
So I've got two I could pick from, and I will say I'll be interested to see if one of you two goes for, or one of you three goes for the other one. Katie Taylor.
Big shout. Big.
I agree, by the way.
Katie Taylor.
I agree, yeah.
I love Katie Taylor. We all do. She's been at the top for a really long time. I wouldn't say that she's in any way kind of shop worn. It's not got to that point yet. But I think there's not an awful lot left. And I think Serrano will beat her.
Yeah, I
Okay.
concur with
And
that.
it'll be a hell of a fight because
Don't
she will
just
dig
copy
down
it.
deep.
No,
She will
I
dig
agree. No,
down
I'm gonna
deep,
do
Katie
something different.
Taylor,
I don't think so.
I'm going to do something
and it will
different.
be a
about
hell
that.
of a battle, I think.
Yeah, I like Serrano.
Yeah, watching her against Jennifer Han and Sharapova.
Sharapova is a tennis player, though, so you have to.
But she also brought a racket.
So that's
so you know,
Sharapova. This
Like
is-
Fandora when he beat Sergio Garcia. You'd be a golfer, man. Come on.
But honestly, watching her.
It's like when Canelo just got beaten. He got really close to his vision of Brian Lara, the cricketer.
Anyway,
This is a good game.
yeah. Anyway, Ade, you were saying?
Yeah, no, I'm with you with Katie Taylor, but I'm going to go somewhere different. So this is any international, anything?
Any world champion who's going to lose their title.
Oh, Oscar Valdez is 100% losing to Shakur Stevenson, I think.
Yeah.
No,
I
really
wouldn't.
do.
I wouldn't say 100%, but
No, I
would
think he
definitely-
will. I think he lost his fight against Conceição.
I
Look,
do as well.
And Conceição
I
is a good
thought he-
fighter as
I
well, by
thought
the
he
way.
lost
But I
that
thought he
fight.
lost that 7-5. Some people think even 8-4. And with all the issues surrounding it, I can understand maybe his mind mentally was on something else. But I think he will lose. I also think Kambosos will lose as well
Yeah, I
if
got
he
him.
fights
Any
if
of those
any
guys,
of those
yeah.
guys. Yeah, if I'm honest with you. Devon, close. Loma, definitely.
But I want one, Ade.
I'm
You're
going to go
hedging your bets here.
Oscar Valdez because I think Shakur Stevenson will beat him. I think Shakur Stevenson is a special fighter.
Okay. Barry Jones.
I wrote on 6. Registano. No, I did say Kambosos, but Estrada will lose.
Oh,
Like he did the last time.
yeah.
And the time before that. So Chocolatito will make it right. All will be good in the world again.
great
I watched the
It's a good
Second fight again. I know there's a lot of punches being thrown. It's difficult to see, but he won that fight.
He did win that
He won
fight.
that fight.
I hate boxing for that. Like that when you get it wasn't the biggest robbery, but I hate the idea of that as well, where
That was
Chocolatito doesn't get his plaudits for that.
And that's one of those things where people go, no, every round was hard, so they go, oh, it was a really close fight. It was a really close. Every round was really close, but he was relatively close. But he's winning most of the rounds. That's the difference for me. That's
he was unbelievable.
Listen, that's how I saw it. You see it, how you see it. But
Well,
I'll never forget
I
that
thought
fight
so.
because the fight was brilliant, and it was the same night Marvin Hagler passed away. So it's a couple of
the Gonzalez fight, was
the
it?
rematch.
And he was fight of the year,
hours
by the
after,
way.
Yeah.
Don't know if he got fight of the year, but he was fight of the year.
I mean, what did get?
What got fight of the year last year?
I don't know, but that's
Wilder.
I think
Fury
Wilder
Fury.
Fury got it.
Yeah.
Wilder Fury got it.
Can't really grumble, can you? I mean, like,
you
for
It's the first time I've heard your voice go on
spectacle
commentary.
overall.
It's the first time your voice went on commentary. I was listening back to it the other day on talkSPORT, and I was like, oh, you tried to sum it up at the end, and the voice is going, and I was like,
It's
too
hard work
much.
that. But it was brilliant because, but that's the difference between radio and TV really, is that you're
You've got to keep
you're
going.
pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and 11 rounds of that was just chaos.
last year. It was literally rematches we didn't want to see, but we're glad we saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
thought it was one of
Yeah,
no one wanted to see that.
God,
The second one of that, and what a brilliant fight that was.
God, Arthur.
Yeah, after
Yeah.
Fury, the third fight, no one wanted to see. After the second one, we wanted to see that. It was the best
What a
win of the lot.
So you're going for Juan Francisco Estrada as your world champion to lose the
Yes,
title?
I am.
Okay, so I haven't actually thought about this one yet. I'm going to try and go for, because I actually agree with.
I agree with all.
I agree with all three at the minute, so I'm going to go for a different one.
I think Cambosis as well, by the way.
Cambosa's a good shot, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go for a controversial one.
Alexander Usyk.
Julio Cesar Martinez.
He was in the mix for me as well. Yeah.
Oh.
I think if that fight
If
gets
he gets
made,
Sonny,
What with Sonny?
I think Sonny beats
I think Sonny Edwards can beat him.
That's
My shout. Like, yeah, don't be wrong. Like, it's not a, not a foregone conclusion. If Julio Cesar Martinez was to win,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. But considering we're going, and I do agree with all of these three, they could have easily been any of my my calls
Shout
as
out.
well. There's somebody. Did you say Usyk?
No, so I thought you were going to be controversial and say Usyk. Yeah.
Depends on who he boxes, but not for me. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Julio Cesar Martinez.
nice.
I think Sonny Edwards will have some moments in the fight where he has to bite down on the gum shield, maybe have to pick himself up off the canvas.
I don't think
You don't think so?
I know he's been put down. I've been there. I've done most of his career, so I've seen him be put down.
Yeah.
He won't switch off. I think that the concentration this kid has is weird. I honestly think, and in a fight, of that fear factor he'll have in that fight, and everything that builds around, it's a great narrative. It's a shame they're not middleweights, really.
The whole thing's
But I think.
Oh yeah.
For me,
The
Martinez.
revenge mission.
all of it.
There's so much to say.
Wait, Martinez will go.
two flyweights as well. It's
Yeah.
Martinez will say, I got to get on him and keep on him for 12 rounds.
And he will be, by the way.
Yeah, if Sonny
Won't-
Edwards
no, he
rocking
won't
up with
be.
his no
Like,
drugs,
you'll
no
think he
champions
can.
t-shirt.
I can't see how you stay on him. You can't stay on Sonny. You just can't stay on him. I think you'll find it impossible. I do. But he has to. But he can clip him. And I said, I put a tweet out the other day. I said it's a great fight because like he could literally put Sonny to sleep in the first 20 seconds,
Yeah.
or Sonny could just stand him on his head and make him cry. I think that's what will happen. I think he will literally stand him on his head.
I will go for that, so I'll go for Sonny Edwards. There's some good, there's
Some good ones, some
a
good
lot of
ones.
world champions apparently are going to be. Oh, and there's this as well, and that one.
You know what, though?
We could all go around again. I think we could all go around again and pick up.
Boxing's the easiest sport to slag off. We all slag it off all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how we make a living, really. More doing that more than anything else. But I'm encouraging this about champions getting beat. It's not for the champions.
So there's a lot coming up.
Yeah, it's
Those
good.
are fighters, good fighters, and the transition of challenge becoming champions and stuff. It's a good.
I like it.
Right, next one. Again, you're not allowed to pick somebody that you've just picked to lose for this one. So we're going to go for UK and world. Ade, we're going to come to you first. Unbeaten fighter to lose their O in 2022. So British fighter and international fighter to lose their coveted O.
If he says Conor Ben, you should like
To
see
lose
his own.
their O this year.
Someone's O has got to go.
Oh,
Yes,
this is a big one, and he's not going to like me for saying this at all.
He's going to say
Okay.
Conor Ben. He's going to say Conor Ben.
Yeah.
And then you can take his job. You can take his job. I'm sorry, go on.
Ade?
I think this is very
I'm
controversial. You know,
fucking. I'm like on the edge of my seat.
very controversial. because I think he's going to fight Dimitri Bivol. I think Boatsy could lose his O this year.
Ooh, okay.
I think Boatsy could lose to, again, this is could, I think Boatsy could lose to Dimitri Bivol if they match up
If
in
Bivol turns up.
2022. Yeah, if Bivol turns up there, you're right. Again, controversial. I'm supposed to interview.
that's a-
him.
that-
Obviously,
I don't
interview's
think that is
cancelled.
That's
controversial.
not that controversial, man.
Controversial to you.
He's a nice guy. Anyway. He
Controversial to you, 'cause
probably
you got to go
won't
and see
mind.
all. You got to go back and see all your.
Yeah.
You got to go to work.
Trying to get him
You
into
gotta
it.
go- you
Trying to
gotta
get
go
to interview him. When's this going out?
A British fighter is going to lose their O. What
No.
about a world fighter who's going to lose their O?
Jamal Charlo.
Okay.
I think Jamal Charlo will lose his O. And I think it could be a number of fights he has. It could be Benavidez. It could be Caleb Plant. It could be Demetrius Andrade if he goes up to 168 pounds. Sorry, if
they fight,
If they both
yeah.
fight, apologies.
Right, yeah.
So I think Jamal Charlo is going to lose his O.
Okay. Andy Clarke. Let's go for your British.
So British, because of the plans that I think they've got for him, I think Richard Riakporhe may well lose his O because he's moved very, very quick, and I still think he's kind of catching up with himself. And I've been a big fan of what he's achieved so far. And if he does lose it, he's level-headed. It's not going to be a fatal blow to him by any means. But he beat Duradola. That was a good bit of matchmaking, as it turned out. A good bit of matchmaking. That's pushed him up towards a world title shot. That's what they were talking about. And I just don't think he's ready for that. I don't think he's ready for that. And I think if he goes up towards that kind of fringe world level, because Duradola on paper was fringe world level because of his ranking, but in reality wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think it will just be too much for him if they push him up to that level this year. But like I say, it always depends on the manner of the defeat. If he does lose, hopefully it will just be a minor setback and he'll learn a lot and he'll come back better and he'll come back stronger. But it's been fascinating watching what's happened with him because I did a lot of his fights and he's winning 50-50 fight. Well, they weren't even 50-50 fights.
He was underdog.
He
Underdog
was
in
the
a couple,
underdog
yeah.
against everybody, against Sam Hyde, against
Tommy
against
McCarthy.
Billam Smith, against Tommy McCarthy. They all had so much more
Solid
experience
wins,
than
that
him.
is.
So much more experience. So I just think that because of the pace he's at and where they want to push him to, I think that L is probably in the post. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm right.
Okay. And on the world scene.
So I can't replicate a previous answer, so I can't say Katie Taylor, obviously. So I'm going to say that Alexander Usyk is going to beat Anthony Joshua in their rematch, and then we're going to get the fight that the world wants to see at the end of the year against Tyson Fury, and he's going to get beat.
Oh, I like this. I do like this show today. This is a very. I like.
Yeah,
This.
it's nice to have you, Ade.
It really is. It's really
darling.
I have to answer that phone call.
Forecasting the future a bit with that one.
Yeah.
But I don't think he can beat Fury myself, and I'm optimistically saying that fight's going to happen.
Okay, so you're going. So you think that we're going to have Usyk Joshua and Usyk Fury both in 2022? Ever the optimist, Andy
That's what I
Clarke.
Love it.
Ever the optimist, Andy Clarke. We love it. We love it. Right, Barry Jones, domestic fighter.
Jack Catchell.
Took
Mine.
Okay, you can have that. Archie Sharp.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that Archie Sharp who's calling out Jamel Herring?
Yeah, I think if he gets his opportunity, which maybe he deserves, because he's been playing the ranking game, and he's a good kid. Again, you're afraid to upset anyone now. I don't think you're a bad fighter. Just think if you fight, a Shakur
Somebody
Stevenson
better.
or a Valdez,
He might lose.
that I don't think you're ready for them yet. That's all.
A bit along the Riakporhe lines. He's
Yeah.
to a position.
Yeah.
He's not
And he's-
quite-
yeah,
But
in a-
but he has
that's
to
not quite
fight.
where
Yeah, I
he
think
is.
so. Yeah.
I think he could end up boxing for a world title, a vacant world title.
Well, very well.
I think Shakur, if Shakur and
He's
Amarantz
going up
happens, which
immediately,
looks like it,
Shakur
I
will,
think
won't
he
he?
wins out
Yeah.
and goes straight to lightweight.
Yeah.
And he ends up boxing.
So you can have the Catchell, but I'll go him. Is Kambosos undefeated?
Yeah.
Yep.
Him, definitely then. I think it's horrible because he had such a great win. Maybe the standout win, actually, of last year, potentially. But I just think that was his one great moment. I don't know why. I just got a feeling that was his one great moment because he looked good and solid, but not. And he's exceptionally tough. But I think, no, so even a Lopez would fight him in a different way. No, they wouldn't think they could blast him. You can't blast him out now, but you could still not use your movement and your intelligence to outbox him. So I think he gets outboxed.
I'm scared that I'm still underestimating him because I spoke about
Yeah.
Kambosos last time. I didn't, and I still feel like, are we doing that again? Are we underestimating Kambosos?
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's the magic, see, because you look at him, you go, I did it with Josh Warrington twice. Lee Selby. Lee Selby.
100%, yeah.
Lee Selby stands.
Yeah.
I got loads of like Welsh bias over there. It wasn't. Lee Selby stands, as much as Warrington deserves the opportunity, Lee Selby stands him on his head. And then with Frampton, just stylistically, you got to go at Frampton, and he haven't got the intelligence as Frampton had, and he haven't got the power that Frampton has. And he outboxed the boxer and outpunched the puncher. So he proved us wrong twice, to be fair. And proved us wrong again when he got beat by what's his name? But like, I just think against the Mexican. But,
Lara.
Yeah, thanks, Lara.
Okay.
But Brian, the cricketer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're my ones for me. So I'll go Archie Sharp. I think as good as he is, I think if he steps up now, I don't think he's quite ready. I think he needs that test before he gets the world title shot, which they're not going to give him, I don't feel. And Kambosos, I think if he gets the opportunity to fight one of the others, whether it be a Lomachenko or a Tank or even a Ryan Garcia.
I think Haney beats him as well, yeah?
I don't think Haney beats Kambosos.
No, I don't think they fight though. I think Haney. I'll take Haney instead then. Kambosos. Haney loses his all.
Okay.
Oh,
I think he's beatable.
So if he's not fighting Kambosos, who's he going to fight that takes his own?
Back end of 2022, Shakur Stevenson.
Shakur Stevenson.
How are they going to make the fight?
I know, I'm just hypothetically in a dream world.
But we're not matchmakers and we're not promoters, so we shouldn't think of it that way. We should think if the ideal world, then he has to fight a Tank or a Lomo or one of those.
Listen, when we come and do this at the end of the year and we look back, I don't want to hear, well, I was a promotional politics.
That's not my job. It's on your job.
To make the fights.
Promote the people.
Barry Jones has spoken
Yeah.
for 2022. Right,
Might
for
be the last time I
myself,
speak, but
I'm going to go with Jack Catterall. I think Jack Catterall is the type of fighter who could win a world title if he wasn't fighting an elite level pound for pound fighter in Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor wins that fight. Although I do feel like Jack Catterall is going to be a lot more competitive than people are giving him credit for. I think first 4 or 5 rounds will be tricky, crafty, and he'll have some success. And then eventually I think Taylor will overwhelm him at some point in the mid to late rounds. So I'm going to go for Jack Catterall as my domestic. Internationally, I'm going to go for Tony Yoka. I think Tony Yoka loses his O this year. I think if and when the Hrgovic fight happens, I'm a big sort of advocate for Hrgovic. As I say, I'm a big advocate for Hrgovic, but I don't think that's an easy fight for him. I think Yoka is a very well-rounded fighter. We've seen Hrgovic look ponderous as a pro. I actually like a lot's been said about his matchmaking recent years, in particular for Hrgovic, but they didn't actually start him that bad. In his first 3 or 4 fights, he boxed like Amir Mansour, he boxed Tom Little after like 2 or 3 fights, and then kind of like the opponents got progressively worse and more obscure as he went along. But I do think he'll beat Tony Yoka, but I think Tony Yoka's gonna probably be ahead when it happens. But I think Hrgovic will catch him with something and chin him. So I'm going to go for Yoka as my international fighter to lose their O. Nice. Bit unsexy, doesn't have a world title.
No, it's a good one.
I
like it. It's a good one, Yoka.
There's that whole old amateur days axis of him and Joyce and Yoka needs to be revisited in the pros, definitely.
And it kind of looks like it, but it could potentially go that way. I know obviously Joyce is well ranked with the WBO. I think he's got a ranking with the WBA as well. So I don't think he's looking to jump into any kind of eliminators that he doesn't have to. He's already kind of done his hard yards. But yeah, it'd be nice to see like those guys. I'd really like to see Joe Joyce box Tony Yoka again. Yeah, for obvious reasons. There's
that new breed now, and they're sitting there now, and they waiting.
Yeah.
For the other guys to.
You've got to that stage now.
The
ones at the top are in that kind of like not cash out stage. It sounds like they're kind of, but they're in that big money.
Yeah, they're not going to fight the individuals, and also they're probably too good anyway at the minute. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so next fight you'd most like to make domestically and then internationally. So Barry Jones, the man with the pad. Jordan likes the pad. Jordan loves a good pad.
Well, I forget stuff, don't I? Crawford Taylor.
Internationally, if you can make any fight, Crawford Taylor.
The tone. Can I just tie them in 2 because there's a tone? No, that internationally, that would be for me. I think that's a great fight. If he stays at 147, Crawford, which he should, then him and Taylor's massive.
Massive. I couldn't believe the size of him for 140.
He's huge, isn't he?
Couldn't believe it.
And he's my favourite fighter anyway, so I wanted to fight everyone. But I think, but he goes in an underdog against Crawford. Make no bones about that. But he has that something special, Taylor, where he don't care. He will do whatever it takes to win. I know Crawford may be the same. He's a nasty Crawford.
Yeah.
And Crawford's nasty. Like Crawford's like a street kid, and it hasn't lost him. I said this last.
They're both street kids.
I said this last time.
We had this conversation, didn't we? Particularly about Terence Crawford, about being nasty and like
me, like an old man. I walk past him. If I give him a stare, he would be like,
Yeah, Crawford would turn around.
Even me,
Well,
but I'm half his size and twice his age. Who are you looking at? You could see it. And Taylor's exactly the same in a different way. But I mean, Taylor will bite you, poke you in the eye, stand on your foot, knee you in the balls. He will do whatever it takes to win, and that's what makes that such a hard fight. You've got two real alpha males there, who will, and that would be just a. It'd either be really scrappy, horrible, just nasty blood and like kidneys flowing all over the place, or it would just be like the fight of the year.
I think it'd be a brilliant fight.
Yeah.
I really do think it'd be a brilliant fight. You've got two absolute predators, people who are intelligent as well as both physically strong, both technically gifted. I think that'd be a brilliant fight. Okay, cool. Good shout for your international. Domestic.
Cordina versus Kakachi.
Okay.
I wrote down here, and it's a great fight. Is that yours?
No, it was going to be.
I can change.
I've got.
I've wrote down Yard versus Callum Smith, which had never happened.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. But we're not promoted, so yeah, I think that's a really good. Because the way how good Yard was in his last performance, I thought he was fantastic. I mean, that's the best he's boxed.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the best he's been. He was just, and he didn't do a lot. He didn't do loads of adjustments.
James Cook.
He was just busier.
James Cook deserves a bit of credit.
Maybe, but but either way, he was just busier. So I didn't think stylistically he did loads of things different. He just upped his work rate. Where I used to praise him, because I've covered most of his fights about all that old adage of he never rushes his work, but always gets rid of him early. I think he thought he could do that at every level and just used to walk people down, expecting people to walk into shots. In that fight, in the Arthur fight, he created the opportunity. He realised that he had to create opportunities rather than just wait for him to turn up for him and then put you to sleep. And I think maybe from the Kovalev as well, and he learned that you have to maybe force the pace, create the opportunities, and he did it, and he was fantastic. So him and Callum Smith at a new weight, which would make Callum Smith a big favourite because he's boxed at a higher level, but he's in against a guy who can punch, with either hand and hurt you. And if he can be busier and be right on the chest of Callum Smith, it makes it a really good fight to watch.
Okay, but you're going for Cordina versus Kakachi.
No, I thought you were going to nick that, so I'll go for that one then.
No.
You can have whichever one. Andy, matchmaker hat on, UK and abroad.
So abroad, I mean, I love the idea of Crawford Taylor. That's an absolutely terrific fight. I do really want to see Sonny Edwards against Julio Martinez. I do really want to see that. It's got that domestic element for us as well, of course. But I do just think stylistically, I really enjoy those fights where you've got the bull and the matador, or however you want to describe it, because we don't know what will happen if Sonny gets caught and hurt. But I'm not sure that he can catch him and hurt him. And we've been over it already in the last few minutes. But I do just find that a really, really interesting fight. And it's got the great backstory because of Charlie and all the rest of it. There are plenty of others out there you could home in on. I mean, I would still really like to see Crawford against Spence, but I've kind of given up on it now.
Sort of like
Remember that?
the
Remember that?
American Khan Brook of a high
I've
level.
kind of given up.
So we get to say to Andy, "You'll fucking still watch it, Andy."
Which I would.
You still see like people on Twitter say like, "Oh, Crawford Spence." I don't even want to see that fight now.
can't stand when
you
people- I
hardcore
understand the
boxing fan, you,
frustration, but
isn't it? It's very much like.
But actually, I mean, I do really want to see Canelo against Beterbiev as well.
Oh,
because
Jesus.
that's a I want to see Canelo
As an underdog,
pushed.
In trouble.
In trouble
Yeah.
and pushed. I don't necessarily just want to see him get beat. I don't ever want to see a fighter just take challenge after challenge after challenge until they just get beat, because it's all a bit ridiculous. I've got no interest in seeing him fight at cruiserweight Canelo. I just think it's a nonsense. But that I think would be terrific. But anyway, you've chosen that one. Domestically, I would like to see an all Belfast smash up between Tyrone McKenna and James Tennyson
okay,
outside at the Falls Park in the shadow of the Black Mountain.
okay,
That's what I want to see.
yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah,
Because Tennyson's lost obviously at lightweight. It all came to a crashing halt at lightweight, and as far as I know, he's going to fight at super lightweight.
yeah. Yeah.
And McKenna will just have it with anyone.
He fights with his hand on his sleeve.
Yeah, he's fantastic to
has.
watch. He can box, but he almost always chooses not to.
I don't want to see him box Regis Prograis.
I kind of do, but in a way I also sort of don't, because he could get hurt.
Yeah.
Tyrone there, I think.
There's a guy who's pretty much been forgotten about.
Regis
Regis
Prograis.
Prograis, yeah.
Never really had. He's never been able to nail his flag to a mast, has he? Really?
No.
He's gone about his career with no promoter.
But his ability's too good for his profile.
Yeah.
That's what happens there.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, Ade.
Domestic, again, not a matchmaker. That's never going to happen. But Yard Bawatsi.
That's becoming more realistic.
Chance, I think.
It's becoming more realistic. It's still, I don't think will happen this year, but
Yeah.
it's becoming more realistic. They just have to both keep winning.
I love it. I love the idea of it. And look, I don't know if it's number 1 versus number 2, because you mentioned Callum Smith there now, Callum Johnson. I guess they can make an argument to have that number 1 or 2 spot. I think it's the biggest fight that can be made, the light heavyweight division.
Craig Richards.
yeah, Craig will always get upset if I don't
Richards
mention him.
was
You're right,
manager.
such a good fighter. That's a good one to make. But I think Yard Bawatsi is fantastic. Yard coming off that really good win, Bawatsi beating Bolotniks. It would have been nice to see him take on Vlasov, because I thought Vlasov actually beat Joe Smith when they fought. So it'd be nice to see where Bawatsi was. Didn't happen. I think it's a fantastic fight. It's a fight that I think splits people right down the middle, because Yard did look really, really good against Lyndon Arthur. So that's my domestic fight. Internationally, you mentioned it, but I've got to mention it again. Canelo Beterbiev, I think, is just... I mean, Canelo's been able to walk everyone down and just smashed them, really. Callum Smith walked him down and smashed him. Billy Joe Saunders, we all saw what happened, and even Callum Plant towards the end. I don't think he walks Beterbiev down like that. I can't see how Beterbiev is on the back foot trying to outbox him. It's just going to be like that. And I just feel like, look, the only thing that beats Canelo for me right now is the weight jump. And Beterbiev is a massive 175-pounder. You know, there's talks about Dimitri Bivol going down to 168. You couldn't cut Beterbiev's leg off to make 168. He's that big. And the idea of it just excites me. I really do.
And he's
that's the one I
vulnerable
wanna
as well.
see. He is vulnerable. He's been put down a couple of times, Beterbiev. But if he, surely, I mean, I know Canelo took Golovkin's punches, but if he can take Beterbiev's on the chin, then that's it. Cool quits, go to cruiserweight. But I like the idea of that one. So that's going to be my international fight.
Do you know what I've got to say about that fight? Because after the 2 Golovkin fights, anyone who's got a box Canelo would see, even if you could punch, you're going to go, if Golovkin can't, dented him, what's the point? We got to move. But again, he won't think like that, Beterbiev. He will still think, oh, well.
He'll think I go run. Yeah, there'll be no fear.
This is
and
what
this is no disrespect to Caleb Plant or Billy Joe was boxing well until what happened. But you almost sense that there was a fear with them guys. Box on the back foot. Beterbiev will look at
you
him
know
and
you
think,
can't hurt him. So you don't try to
so
hurt
much
him.
bigger than you. Like Beterbiev's what, 6 foot, 6'1"? What's Canelo, 5'8"? He'll look at him and think, no way. No way. And he will go straight at him. And I think that's what I want to see.
I think
so that's the fight.
Beterbiev's boxing ability is underrated as well. I think he's for me, like, I'm actually going to go for both with what you've picked there. Yard Bawatsi still does it for me. Still really does it for me.
Yeah.
Even when Yard lost to Lyndon Arthur, like,
Still wanted it.
Yeah, it's going to be that fight while they're active. That still does something for me. Sold out 0-2, like
Easy.
It'd be great.
Oh.
I don't think those two would really get stuck into each other, because they're not like that. Tunde's calmed down a bit as well, hasn't he? I think over the last.
Yeah, it was very good after the after
You've
the
got Eddie and
after-
Frank just wouldn't be able to help themselves.
Hang on a minute.
Build up to that.
When has Tunde calmed down?
Well,
I'm a fan of
Pat Barrett, and he was a
very good
bit.
after the Arthur.
But they haven't
It's easy when you.
He hasn't boxed. He hasn't boxed since. Yeah, so we see he boxes the next fight, and he starts
It
again.
was very good in his post-fight interview. Gave a lot of credit
Yeah.
to James Cook, and I thought he was quite humble in his post-fight interview. I thought
I was
reading.
I was catching up with a load of boxing news that I hadn't read yesterday, and there was an interview with Yard, and he was talking about all sorts, but he was talking about Tunde, and he was saying that he felt that Tunde's always been quite defensive and quick to react whenever anybody would kind of question him in any way, and he's not really like that so much anymore, following a lot of self-examination, which they all went through after that defeat against Lyndon Arthur. So maybe that's that's the reason.
Well, I thought it was interesting to see what Anthony Yard said afterwards, where he said, "Look, I lost to Kovalev, but everybody gave me a lot of credit, and you competed, you almost had him, blah, blah, you're a couple of punches away." And he said, and after he lost to Arthur, it was like, okay, well, shit, everybody's saying, "Look, you fucking lost the fight, you useless, you never boxed properly." It was like genuine people coming out and saying,
"You're a hype job."
Yeah, exactly. Whereas obviously that wasn't the case for the Kovalev fight. So maybe look, it's still, we all heard it was 10 amateur fights, 12 amateur fights, or whatever he had. A steep learning curve, certainly in those two fights.
Humility goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
My only fear with all those guys, Craig Richards, Boatsy, Yard, they're all friendly. Like when I saw it's going to take a lot of money to get them in the ring. Like when you're seeing them at that fight at the Copper Box, and Dan Aziz is there, and they're all very nice with each other.
They would have seen a lot of each other.
You want someone to come in and club a lang it.
Honestly, you need someone to come in and just know, I'm going to knock all of you out. And that's why I feel like they're never going to fight each other.
Yeah,
they're more likely, like you say, to do Callum Smith or Callum Johnson than go at each other. Doesn't see they're too friendly with each other.
But yeah, so my UK one, Yard, Boatsy, I just think it's such a something about that fight. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Mate,
it's gonna need to have at least one world title on the line. It ain't gonna
get made.
It ain't gonna get made without at least one world title on the line. And I don't think it can get made in 2022. But I'll go with that. That was kind of my one in my head. And then on the world stage, Canelo Botero.
It's obvious, but it's such a...
Well, there are a few in there, to be fair. Spence Crawford being another one. Kind of given up a little bit on the lightweights. Not giving up on them, but like trying to kind of predict who's doing what and where. Like the fight that I would really like to see at lightweight, we said this before Christmas.
I wrote it down,
Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
There's something about that mix as well. That's just really nice.
Yeah.
Like the blend of characters, the blend of fighting styles.
Oh, the characters in
I think like you got De La Hoya and Mayweather there. Brilliant.
Geez.
I mean, I do.
Leonard Ellaby in the mix.
They get Tyson Fury, Dillian White over the line. I do. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
I don't really care where I see it. I'd like to see the fight, but I think for me, Canelo, obviously he's dipped his toe in the water like heavyweight. I don't think he looked great when he boxed Sergey Kovalev, and against a Sergey Kovalev that wasn't the Sergey Kovalev of sort of like the checkpoint, isn't it? It wasn't the Kovalev that boxed Nathan Cleverly. Like everybody goes back to that kind of immediate sticking point, but I would like to see Canelo at 175 against the top guy at 175, and I think
he is unmistakably the top.
Yeah, he's the man at 175 pounds. I don't think that will happen because Eddie Reynoso and Canelo were not born yesterday, and I think if he does go to 175, he'll try and go Bivol, Joe Smith, or
there's no point then because he's already been there and won a title.
Yeah.
But he wants to be undisputed.
What do you think this...
He wants to be undisputed, and if he wants to be undisputed, he ain't going to go and box Beterbiev first, because if he can get 2 fights in and maybe some sort of mandatory in between, Beterbiev is all of a sudden 40. And him, like,
and still really want it.
Yeah,
money.
Exactly.
He's not had a big money fight.
No, he hasn't. He knocked out Tavoris Cloud when he was 5-0 and scared the shit out of everybody.
Yeah,
everyone. I remember,
that was it.
I remember Jean Pascal saying, "Oh, he's my friend from sparring. He didn't want that fight." Coming to the ring and putting his arm around him.
If Jean Pascal with all of his bits and pieces in him doesn't want to fight you,
probably the highest quality, lowest profile.
I remember watching Fight TV. That
was brutal,
amazing.
by the way. Brutal.
But yeah, I think like Beterbiev, you mentioned there about him being a big light heavyweight. It's an understatement. Like, he's massive. he had to strip down before he boxed Marcus Brown again and make the weight. So yeah, I would like to see Canelo versus Beterbiev, but I don't think we will see it. Okay, and finally, I got a few minutes left for this one. Is our fighter of the year. Who in 12 months' time are we going to be sitting here and talking about having a fantastic 2022? We're going to go UK, international, and we're going to start with Barry Jones.
Fighter of the year.
Josh Taylor, again. I think he starts off with Catrell, and I just think he goes on a run. Unless he moves up the welterweight and boxes Crawford, that's the only time I think he gets beat.
What run, sorry to interrupt, what run is that at 140? What's there left for him to do at 140? If he's not moving up to 147 and beating Crawford, how does he get your fighter of the year?
Yeah, well, I just think he stays undefeated. I think if he can keep all those titles together, that's a unique in itself, to be honest. So I just think, he just fights, cleans up his division. A Prograis moved up already now?
Who?
A Prograis moved up already he gone?
What,
No,
from
he's still
140 to 140?
Yeah.
He's still at 140.
I think Teofimo
He might
Lopez
box
at
Crawford.
140 will be a fight that could. I know he's coming off a loss, but I think if he gets one, I think that and Josh is still a big fight. In
I reckon he's
America.
going to box Arnold Barboza
Possibly.
at 140 pounds. I was in the gym with Taylor on Thursday, and he said of the belts that he's only going to vacate a belt if he has to move up. If he's in a position where he has to box the mandatory,
He
then
says
he's
that
going to box the mandatory.
He says that now, but you'll see what happens.
I don't know, man. He's never really struck me as the type of guy who's looking to vacate any
I
fights,
don't.
unless he's moving up in weight
Yeah. And I think that if he can stay busy, man, he could have 4 fights next year.
this year.
He said
This
2,
year, sorry,
didn't he?
this
He's
year.
already come out. And
Well,
said
be
2, didn't he?
Catrall. I think he'll want to box 3 times. He's
Surely.
very
Yeah.
busy as a
Surely.
pro. Catrall, maybe a Teofimo Lopez moving up from 140. Teofimo Lopez, part of his new contract, he's got 2 pay-per-view fights this year. Who the fuck are they against?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who are they against?
That's
It's
a good point.
got to be Josh Taylor or
One's got to be Josh. I think one will be Josh.
And even now,
He's already come out and said undisputed at 140, so he wants the Josh Taylor fight, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a big fight in
Josh is
America.
a big
It really is.
I think.
Yeah. It's gonna be very. I'm really interested to see what Teofimo Lopez we get in 2022. That's for me one of the biggest mysteries of the year.
Let's see if he can.
It's a massive year for him, isn't it?
No
He's still so
idea
young.
what we're
He's
gonna see.
achieved so much with that win against Lomachenko, and if he were to go in at the deepest of deep ends, really moving up in weight and take your first fight against Josh Taylor and lose, then okay, your defeats have come in incredibly high profile
But
fights.
it's bad
but
already. It's early.
Your career's in trouble at an early
And he's
stage.
already talking about it. And he
And
spoke
there's a
about
lot of
it
turmoil
before.
behind the scenes there with him and his old man, and
And
Carnage, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's a horrible thing with it when that's the only issue with fathers and sons training. When your father is a hindrance, how do you sack your dad
that's it.
if you're close?
I mean, he's got no interest either in sacking his dad.
Or your dad, does he realise he has to step away? But his pride, is his pride for himself overshadow his the will for one of his son to do well.
But
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a horrible
one of the
situation.
main reasons why I'm so excited and intrigued to see what's going on with him this year is because on their end there is no problem. They won the fight, no problem. So now I want to see what happens.
But-
Like, you know, like
But for me, I can't see another British fight unless Fury boxes Usyk or whatever, which he.
doesn't necessarily need to be, you know.
I think Fury will be fighter of the year.
Your fighter of the year can be, you know, could be on any metric in which you choose to measure.
I think Josh Taylor. I do.
Okay, international.
International. I'm going to say. Again, how long we go?
Yeah. Phone a friend.
I'm going to go with Canelo again.
Again.
Again, yeah. Like I'm lazy.
It's not a bad shout, Rob, is it, though? Let's be honest.
Because I think he will find a way to get up there and win a like if he wins a battle cruiserweight somehow against McCool or whatever, which he's more than capable of doing, and then can somehow get the Baturia fight and win it.
Then yeah, that's it. Hand it to him.
Done, isn't he?
Hand it
This
to him
is
for the
kind
next
of
5
like
years.
Usyk won our fighter of the year. We did a vote,
Yeah.
and it was neck and it was completely even. It was brilliant. I got to cast a deciding vote. I felt like God, it was unbelievable. So I gave it to Usyk. But one of the reasons why I gave it to Usyk over
Is
Canelo
that British bias? Is that what you got? You're slated for that? Didn't you?
yeah, somebody said that because I'm a massive AJ fan or something. I was like, okay.
I tweeted that. What?
But if no, because you give me all sorts of abuse from your own account. Barry doesn't bother with a burner; he just insults me from his own. But one of the reasons why is I would have been. It sounds ridiculous, but I would have been more impressed with Canelo beating Beterbiev than beating Plant and Saunders.
Of course.
For me,
Massive-
I think that
massive-
one win
massive
against
favourite.
Beterbiev is better than a Canelo or
Yeah.
I think it
a
is.
Canelo beating Plant.
But
or,
to unify the division in such a
and
small,
obviously Avni Yildirim.
to unify the division and be busy in this
But
generation.
part of the reason why he could be busy and do all of that stuff is because he brings so much fucking money to the table.
You
I know,
say
but
that.
because he brings so much money, he doesn't have to fight too often.
Yeah.
As well, man. There's two sides to that.
Yeah, but if he was like, I don't know,
Why ain't Joshua and Fury boxing 5 times a year? 'Cause that's what I think. If you're getting 20 million a fight, I'm boxing 3, and you're knocking people out in a round or whatever, you're dominating. I'd fight all the time.
Yeah.
There's no damage to you. I mean, Fury's fights have been quite hard, but some of the runs Joshua had when he was winning quite comfortable, you just fight all the time. But so I think unified division so quick. And I know it's easier when you're the A side and everyone just going to get loads of money, but still to do it. It's a weight really, but I know he is a super middleweight now, but it's a weight really that he's not really. That's not really his weight.
It's not a natural super middleweight.
No, it's not. Yeah. So, and we forget about that. Not a natural middleweight even. If we're going to really go down to it, he's
Not natural.
He grew into the weight. It's not natural. No, yeah. Well, you said that.
No, just question mark.
Anyway, Andy.
So, UK wise, I'll stick with someone we've talked about quite a lot and go with Sonny. I think he can get that fight against Martinez. I think he can win it. It's by no means certain, and I think if he could do that, that's a unification, and not many people achieve that. And we'll see what he goes on to do after that. But I think that would be a significant enough achievement for him to nick that possibly. But there are plenty of other candidates on the British front. Internationally, I'm fairly optimistic that a fight for undisputed at heavyweight can happen before the end of the year, and I think Fury will win it.
He's just been on holiday and he's been blissfully sat.
I think Fury will win it.
And now he's come back with his hair full of dreams.
Why couldn't it happen before the end of the year? If Usyk and Joshua fight in that rematch, and then that's 3 belts with one fighter, Fury beats whoever it is that he's going to fight in March.
For the same reasons we've been saying Fury Joshua was going to happen in 2018. Or something.
Because of boxing, Andy, is probably the only way for me to.
No, I'm aware of that, but just tell me why. Because Fury would want it and Usyk would want it. I think Usyk will beat Joshua.
Yeah.
Those two fighters will want it, and they don't mess about. They're not the kind of characters who are going to be allow themselves to be dictated.
I think there's more.
Fury wants to win undisputed, maybe have a couple more and then get out.
I think there's more chance of Fury boxing Usyk next than Joshua boxing Usyk and then White boxing Fury and then the winners facing each other. I think there's more. It's more likely that they just go straight to the.
You lost me. I've got a clue what you said.
That's the thing, and this is one of the reasons why I said it, because we're waiting on if Joshua boxes Usyk, if Fury boxes White, and if say he wins. If he wants, you're relying on three negotiations happening in a year for a multi-million-dollar fight.
If Usyk beats Joshua again, which that fight's going to happen, I'm pretty sure, April, maybe whatever. Yeah. But if that happens, just say for argument's sake, that definitely happens like in the spring. So that happens, and Usyk's a big favourite. So if he wins, if Joshua wins, that makes it harder to get Fury in with Joshua. Because financially, again,
I'm thinking Usyk's going to win, and Fury's going to do what he needs.
It's an easier negotiations.
It's easier negotiations for Fury Usyk than anything else.
I think I agree. Yeah. Like the Fury Usyk negotiations are going to be easier than Fury White and maybe not Joshua Usyk. Although we heard after Joshua boxed Ruiz the first time, and obviously he got beat within days or whatever. Eddie was like, "Right, rematch is done." It was kind of military. I know we ended up kind of pissing about and then going to Saudi and what have you, but it was kind of never. It was always very regimented. This is what's going to happen. It doesn't feel like that this time.
No, it's odd, isn't it? You do wonder what's happening.
And you'd imagine it's the same contract, or similar.
Well, exactly. You've got a rematch clause, and you've activated it like half an hour after the final bell. And it's mid-January. We're getting used now, aren't we, even with these huge fights, to not having as long a lead time as we used to.
That's what it is.
But if that's going to happen at the end of April, that needs to be done by the end of the month.
Well, we heard recently, I think Eddie gave an interview to DAZN yesterday or the day before, where he made the first mention of early May. And it's always the way to deal with these promoters. Is, if that goes end of April, early May, that means we don't have a date and it might go to June. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But something not the same. And I think it's the Fury Usyk fight lingering in the background.
Well, I mean, if then
even more
that would happen this year.
Then that would happen this year.
But also, you got.
I don't think we see all three of those fights this year.
You got either camp wanting to be happy.
Joshua Usyk.
Either camp's got to be happy. The boxers camp and the boxers. Also the promoter, because he's thinking. Let's say Eddie Hearn, just for instance, not just picking on him. He got to think, whoever wins, I got to come out here on their side. So it might be him trying to do a deal with Usyk. If he wins, I don't know what deal they have. And I'm talking about back end here. But that's always the case. You always think about it's the fighters, but it's promoters involved.
You're trying to talk Joshua into just stepping aside and fighting the winner, aren't you? Surely you are. Mm. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You get a load of money, and
unless he can sign Usyk, I don't know if he has.
That
No,
was-
no
that's
chance.
not gonna
No
happen.
chance.
No?
No.
They've been down that road before.
Yeah, they've
Either way, that's it. No, then he fights him. I still got, as long as I still got the champion, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember Kazai used to get slagged off for not fighting people, and they go, well, like, and they go, I come over and fight him, but it wasn't so much him. It was sometimes his promoter saying, no, you can fight. I'll fight Joe Kazai in Cardiff. I don't care. Bernard Hopkins, see, I'll fight. Well, no, I'll come to Cardiff, and then and then Joe's promoter saying, and then I got you for 2 fights after. That's okay. And they go, no. I've been signed to a British promoter. I'm going back in America. And they go, oh, fights don't happen then. So it's not always the fighter. So sometimes it's there's so many people in play, isn't there?
But
You
just
didn't know this, but you obviously I know you know this, but I just want to tell you anyway.
But just another one to be. I'm pretty sure neither of you two are going to go for this one, but because we've mentioned him a few times, I would really enjoy it if next year, by the end of next year, our fighter of the year was George Kambosos, because he's proved us all wrong,
Yeah.
and he's ushered everybody over to Australia and bashed them up.
Beat Devin Haney and then beats Davis towards the end of
Yeah,
Would love.
come to a stadium in Australia, lads.
Would love it.
You know, and they go to him because there's you know, as American fighters, America is still the biggest market. Obviously, we know that. They're going to assume that they'll be able to get him to America, and he stands his ground. And no, you come to Australia, and he just takes care of business. I would love that.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I'd like that a
That'd be
lot.
fantastic.
And Anthony Ade, UK fighter of the year, after he beats Joe Smith and he beats Baturbiev and Bivol.
And Canelo.
There you go.
Canelo, yeah.
You make a comeback.
Right, okay, so what, because, well, steady on. Steady on. Joe Cordina versus
Take on
Barry
Joe
Jones.
Cordina in a Cardiff clash.
I got more of a chance now.
Right, we're going to go around to Ade now. Ade, so your fighter of 2022 and in the UK and overseas.
UK fight of 2022, Lawrence Coley. I think he'll unify in 2022. I don't think he'll get undisputed because I don't think they'll be able to make the fights. Bradis is calling that Jake Paul making videos, so I don't know what's going on there.
Having
which is
tattoos.
just, having tattoos of Jake Paul and stuff. So I'm not quite sure about that fight, but I do think he'll unify. I don't even think we've seen anywhere near the best of Lawrence Coley, and I think the longer he stays with Shane, I think he's just going to become something really, really tough to beat at cruiserweight. And then I think at the end of 2022, I think he's going to dip his toes into the heavyweight division and maybe cause some problems there as well. So I think it's going to be a good and busy year. You probably know more insight into this about what they're looking at, but I think Lawrence Coley will unify. He'll beat another cruiserweight champion. I'm confident of it. And a heavyweight fight at the back end of 2022.
Okay, interesting. So, international.
Tyson Fury.
2 domestic.
You can't.
Don
So
King.
presumably, you think that the undisputed fight can happen then
Yeah.
as well, because
Yeah.
Tyson, that's what he needs for him to win fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it won't. I've no idea what he's going to do in March or April.
Box
I'm not even
Manuel Char,
bothered.
isn't he?
Yeah, that happens. I have no idea if that happens. I've no look. Dylan White, I'd love to see it, but I'm not quite sure. But I think he'll have that one big fight, and it will be Alexander Usyk. And I think it will be Alexander Usyk. And I'd love to see it here. It will be almost like the revenge mission, same place as well, Tottenham Stadium. You bashed up AJ, now come and see me. And I think the Brits will get behind, and I think it'll just be epic. And I think he'll do Alexander Usyk in a very, very good fight as well, by the way. I don't think it'll be easy by any stretch of the imagination, because I think Usyk's a bit special, but I think Fury will beat him, and I think we'll give it to him as fighter of the year.
Can someone just explain to me what on earth is going on with Tyson Fury, Dillian White?
I'll tell. What day is it today? What's the date?
Can you just get
Is
Mr.
it the
Solomon
18th?
up on the phone? I know you
He
got
doesn't
that
know.
connection.
It's the 18th today. Alex Krasiuk's back from Sri Lanka tomorrow. I'll let you know. I don't know.
I mean, I'm always reluctant to get stuck into any fighter when it comes to negotiations, because you quite simply don't know what's happening. We feel like we know now because we're on the inside and the social media, but you don't know.
No.
There's only a handful of people who do know. But if this doesn't end up happening and go south, Dillian White's not a man who cares what other people think, but any kind of sympathy for him is going to, because he's been waiting so long, he's just going to disappear.
Yeah.
If he doesn't take this, he's never going to get his shot, is he?
When's the purse bid's been rescheduled for? This Friday.
Friday.
No.
But the thing is, it's one of those,
I don't think the fight's going to happen,
I can half understand him saying,
personally.
I'm not getting that, but if he's getting this, I know my worth, and I understand that. I do understand that, and that's what you stick by. If that's your barometer, we take a fight or not, then fair enough, take it. But then you're going to get stick about it. But I do tend to think that you've earned lots of money anyway. You're going to earn more if you win. it blows up crazy like you want it to anyway, and it's a world title fight. Like for me, it's a world title.
That's always
fight.
been my thing.
And
with
it's
it.
the world.
And it's exactly. You're fighting
You beat
the
Fury,
number
you're
one.
the man.
But
you're the man.
But he also he's probably there thinking everyone's blaming me. But like, if they offer me 10% more, I'd take it. Why is he not? Like, it's a world title fight for him as well. It's all on Dillian White just to take.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big fight for Tyson Fury as well.
So,
it's a big fight.
You know what I mean? If Fury's not scared to fight to me, then give a little bit more then. Because you're again, the same applies to Fury. You earn stupid amounts of money. You're going to earn big amount of money anyway. So just give me a little bit more to make the fight.
It's not going to happen.
It's not. No,
It's not going to happen. But what you're saying is quite. Yeah.
We're all at about money. Like, you know, we're all looking at fights like we're playing Dillian for not taking it. But if Fury's not willing to give away a few quid, which is understandable, why should Dillian be willing to give away a few quid, leave a few quid on the table?
Because he's got the chance of fighting for a world title.
That's what I think. For me as well.
And if he doesn't fight Fury, what other fight's going to make him that amount of money anyway?
Nowhere near.
That's what I don't.
No,
Also, one of the kind of the rhetorics is that Fury in America isn't a pay-per-view draw without Deontay Wilder. But the kind of
Well, we don't know yet, do we?
the examples of that are, or he's not a draw. Fury Schwartz, Fury Wallin.
They were busy.
But they didn't, by all accounts, do very well on the gate, a lot of comps, whatever. But they were, before he knocked out Deontay Wilder twice in American pay-per-view for 1.6 million buys across 2 fights, record gates at MJ. So I think, like, as is often the case in boxing, you pick a stat, you see how it works for you.
Two Brits, though. I'm not sure 2 Brits is going to do.
No, I don't either, which is one of the reasons why personally I don't think the fight happens. But anyway, it's my fighter of the year. Fighter of the year. So UK, I'm going to go for Lawrence Okoli as well. I think Lawrence
Don't you hate
Okoli.
that when someone has the
Yeah,
same one?
it's fucking terrible. It's been twice now as well with
I
a
thought
fight.
Andy Clarke was going to pick it. I'm like, you
Fight
better
as
not,
well.
Andy.
So I think Lawrence Okoli unifies the division.
Yeah.
Against either Arsene Gulamarian or Egorov, if that fight ever happens. Like, it's been happening now for about a year, but I think he unifies with the winner of
Isn't
that.
Eddie trying to put that fight on the undercard?
Yeah, he
of
fucking
Okoli?
been trying to put it on about 50 cards, man. I believe he got caught.
Since like late 2019.
I know, it's mental. And also that fight got called off on like the day of the weigh-in, I think. The last time it was
like 2 days before the weigh-in,
unbelievable,
yeah.
man. But anyway, I think Lawrence Okoli unifies the division and then makes his heavyweight debut at the end of the year against somebody like a Derek Chisora. And I think he stops Derek Chisora to make a big impression on the heavyweight scene. So I think he unifies the division, moves up to heavyweight, gets a win under his belt.
And he's in that nice crop that we were talking about earlier with the likes of Yoka and George.
Yeah, he's right.
But one of the things with Lawrence Okoli as well is moving up from the WBO as cruiserweight champion. He will align himself for
Let's go.
the shot at the WBO title, depending on who holds that at the time. I wonder if his
I hope
manager
he
holds it.
doesn't-
It'd
Could
be
be a fight for a
interesting.
vacant title between him.
Could
and
be a
Joe
fight for a
I
vacant
hope he doesn't
title.
try and become too heavy.
I
as a
don't think
heavyweight.
he will.
Hope he looks at the Deontay Wilder kind of mold and model and think, you know what, my power will still carry up regardless.
Yeah, I don't see him. And when you consider what he will walk in the ring at, like, I think he'll just box at that weight, just won't cut the weight in fight week.
Yeah, you'll have to put a bit on.
Little bit,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
too much though. But he's a big old boy. Like, he'll put naturally a bit on, but I don't think he'll be wildly dissimilar to what he actually walks in the ring.
Be
at
interesting because
cruiserweight.
it's not so much the reach he has.
Yeah.
His wingspan's massive. And again, Shane McGuigan, I've always said he was a good fit because they turn from the court. He doesn't. He's not in scrappy fights so much anymore because he used to lean into his shots and then he'd hit you, and even if he hurt you, you were there to grab on.
Now he hits and turns, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
so he does because you don't give away the distance. You don't give it the space. You just turn from the hips and the shoulders so that your back shoulder becomes your front shoulder. So you're still nice and long, and you're long target, and then you keep generating that same amount of power, and you're in a safe position.
My international fighter of the year.
Oh, I forgot about you.
Dung, dung, dung.
Difficult one, but I'm going to go for Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur unifies the division against, or becomes unified champion against Oscar Valdez. And then he will either fight Chris Colbert, which I think would be a brilliant fight. You do that in New York, New Jersey, anywhere around there would be a brilliant fight. And if there's time, I think he makes his lightweight debut as well, and he joins that lightweight mix. I think
It's got to be a big lightweight, though. He got to be a big name lightweight to win the fight of the year.
Well, if he unifies the division against Valdez, then takes another belt against Chris Colbert or Gutierrez, and then makes a lightweight debut against I don't know, like a Richard Comey, because that's a fight that's easily made through Top Rank. I think he wins all of those. I also think if they were to box this year, he would beat Lomachenko.
No.
That's the fight, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because they're
that's
both top rank. And
No.
But you
if
can't-
they can't get something really good for Lomachenko.
Yeah, that's the only way it's going to happen.
Hang around Loma, is he? He's
No.
gonna want to
And I think if Top Rank look at that,
get a meaningful
I think
win.
they look at that properly. I think they'll probably end up. I don't think they're going to offer up Lomachenko while they still think he's got something left, if that makes sense, or while he's still the Lomachenko of old, if you want to call it that. Because I think that's the perfect launchpad fight for Shakur Stevenson. He looks $1 million against Lomachenko on ESPN, and then all of a
I
sudden,
think that might take another year, to be honest.
yeah, I don't
you
necessarily
would
think
not
it's.
be-
I don't,
Before
I-
Lomachenko,
I-
still-
yeah,
there's still 12
because,
months.
well, we'll
around
also
at
see
least.
what happens with Lomachenko and Kambosos. If he can get that, because he's a WBO mandatory as well, or whether or not those belts become fragmented. Shakur
will.
moves up and they go Shakur Stevenson versus Lomachenko for the vacant WBO, because he would also have a claim to the throne. But yeah, my fighter of the year for 2022 will be Shakur Stevenson.
No
So-
complaints there.
That's about it. We've got just a minute or so left.
No one
so-
mentions Jamal Charlo. You might unify that.
I said Jamal
Super
Charlo
welterweight
loses
division.
oh?
Jamel Charlo, yeah.
Or Jamel or Jamal,
maybe.
apologies. Which one did we say?
Jamal, you said.
Jamal, I
You
said.
said Jamel. I thought he lost to Brian Castagna
He did.
last year. I
Yeah.
thought Castagna won that fight. There's no date for that yet, is there, or is there?
I don't think so.
19th
Wasn't
of
it
March.
March?
19th of March.
Okay.
Same day as Ortiz versus Michael McKinson. But anyway, looking forward to
Forgot
that.
about that fight.
Michael McKinson could be a British fighter who loses his O, but we will see on March the 19th, live on DAZN. There you go.
Well,
There you go,
thank you.
Ade.
Cheers.
There you go.
That's part of my fee for coming. Thank you.
Right, that's all we have time for this week on episode 39 of the Boxing Social podcast. Our official 2022 launch episode is all done. Thanks very much, as always, to our esteemed panel of guests and Barry Jones for popping by, some on time, some not. And thanks very much to you, as always, for stopping by and enjoying Boxing Social podcast. We'll catch up with you soon.